You become what you think. If you want a better life, you have to start by thinking better. That one sentence has the power to change everything, if you take it seriously. Most people live the same day over and over again because they keep thinking the same thoughts. They don't realize how much control their mind has over their future. If you keep thinking like the old you, you'll keep getting the same life. But if you start thinking like the person you want to become, your habits change, your confidence grows, your decisions improve, your life moves forward. This isn't about motivation that fades. This is about building mental discipline that lasts. In this video, you'll learn how to think clearly, choose strong thoughts, and develop the kind of mindset that matches the future you want. Not theory, real steps that work in daily life. If you're ready to take control, not just hope for change, this is where it starts. Thought by thought. Chapter 1. Decide what kind of thoughts you allow daily. You have to decide what kind of thoughts you allow in your mind every day, because what you allow stays, and what stays shapes your life. That's how it works. It's simple, it's clear, and it's real. Your thoughts become the foundation for everything you do, everything you believe, everything you build, and everything you attract. That's the truth. You don't need to make it complicated. You don't need fancy words or tricks. You just need to understand that every single day you are either building a strong life by choosing better thoughts, or you are letting it fall apart by letting the wrong thoughts run wild. You wake up in the morning, and before you even get out of bed, your mind starts talking. That voice inside you, it says something. And whatever it says, if you listen to it enough, you begin to believe it. The two sides are vile neighbors, and with a single glance to one side you can always see something might, and if you believe it long enough, you start living it. Now here's the key. You don't have to accept every thought that shows up. You can choose which ones get to stay, you can choose which ones you will build on, and you can choose which ones you throw out. That's the power you've got. That's where change begins. Most people don't make that decision. They live by default. They don't filter anything. Whatever shows up, they accept it. If the mind says, "You're not good enough," they believe it. If it says, "It's too late," they agree. If it says, "You can't," they quit. They don't stop and ask, "Is this thought helping me? Is this thought building me up or breaking me down?" And that's the difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck. It's not the world, it's not luck, it's what they allow in their head day after day, year after year. You have to take responsibility for your inner environment, the same way you take care of your home. If you don't clean your house, it gets messy. If you don't clean your mind, it gets crowded with useless, painful and destructive thoughts. That's how people end up tired, confused, angry and stuck. Not because life is impossible, but because they never cleaned out the thoughts that don't serve them. They never made a clear decision on what kind of mindset they want to carry into each day. And here's something important. Your life doesn't change when your conditions change. Your life changes when your thinking changes. If you're waiting for something outside to improve first, your job, your relationships, your income, you'll wait forever. But if you stop and say, "I'm going to take control of what I think every day," then everything starts to shift. You act differently. You speak with more purpose. You treat yourself better. You walk stronger. You show up with more energy. And that creates results. The first step is awareness. You have to notice what kind of thoughts are filling your day. Are you constantly thinking about what went wrong? Are you feeding yourself with doubts? Are you always remembering your mistakes? Are you comparing your life with someone else's highlight reel? Or are you giving yourself thoughts that energize you? Are you focusing on your goals, your values, your strengths? Are you thinking about what you can do now instead of what you didn't do yesterday? Every time you notice a thought that drags you down, ask yourself one simple question. Do I want this thought to build my life? If the answer is no, then don't feed it. Don't argue with it. Don't replay it. Let it go. Replace it with something that supports your growth. Something true. Something helpful. Something that makes you stronger instead of weaker. You have to decide that your mind is not a dumping ground for anything and everything. You're not going to live by fear, doubt, or regret. You're not going to believe thoughts just because they've been around for a long time. If they're not useful, they don't belong in your system anymore. Period. You've got to upgrade your mental software if you want a better experience of life. And don't wait until you feel like it. Don't wait for motivation to show up first. Motivation comes after you start thinking better. You don't wait until the gym feels good before going. You go and then it starts feeling good. The same with thinking. You start with better thinking and then the feelings follow. Confidence follows, clarity follows, momentum follows, but it starts with a decision. You're not your past. You're not your old mistakes. You're not your old habits. You are what you repeatedly allow into your mind today. If you've been living with the same problems for years, chances are you've been repeating the same thoughts for years, and no one's going to fix that for you. Not your boss, not your parents, not your partner. It's you. Only you. That's not pressure. That's power. That means no matter where you are right now, you can begin again. You can clear the junk, close the old files, and build a better mental environment. And let me tell you, when you start thinking better, people will notice. They'll hear it in your voice. They'll see it in your eyes. They'll feel it in your energy. Because better thinking leads to better speaking, better behavior, better choices, better standards. And that's how you quietly transform your life, one thought at a time. Now, some people might say, well, I've always been this way. That's just a thought. It's not a law. You're not stuck with anything unless you keep telling yourself that story. Change the story, change the mindset, change the life. That's how real progress begins. Not with excuses, not with blame, but with a decision. I will not entertain weak thoughts anymore. I will train my mind to think stronger. This is work you do daily, not once a year, not once a month, daily, just like brushing your teeth. You do it whether you feel like it or not. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. One day you wake up and the old thoughts don't have power over you anymore. The old fears don't sound convincing anymore. The old voice that used to stop you now sounds ridiculous. That's when you know you're in control. That's when you know you've stepped into a higher level of living. And no one can take that away from you. Not the news, not your job, not people's opinions. When your thinking is clean, focused, and strong, your life begins to match it. Slowly at first, then more and more. And the best part? You start to respect yourself. You start to feel proud of how you show up. You look in the mirror and you know, this is someone who decided to take control. You want to transform your life? Then start where it really matters, your thoughts. Decide what kind of thoughts you allow daily, and keep choosing the ones that move you forward. day by day, thought by thought. That's how you build a new life, not all at once, but with the kind of thinking that earns the future you want. Chapter 2. Remove every thought that holds you back. If you want to move forward in life, you have to remove the thoughts that hold you back, not ignore them, not cover them up. Remove them. Get them out of your system completely, because as long as they're in your mind, they will influence your choices, they will shape your attitude, they will limit your potential, and they will drain your energy. Every time you try to move ahead, those thoughts will pull you back to where you used to be. They'll whisper things like, "You're not ready," "You don't have what it takes," or "This is not for people like you." And if you don't take those thoughts out by the root, you'll end up believing them again. You have to be honest with yourself. What thoughts have you been carrying for too long that no longer belong in your life? What beliefs did you pick up from childhood, from past failures, from people who didn't know better? Maybe someone once told you that you weren't smart enough. Maybe you've told yourself that things never work out for you. Maybe you think other people are lucky and you're always behind. Those aren't harmless thoughts. Those are traps. They keep you repeating the same patterns, attracting the same results, and living below your potential. And here's the thing, nobody's going to come clean them up for you. That's your job, that's your responsibility. Your life cannot rise higher than the level of your thinking. If your mind is full of doubt, you'll hesitate every time you need to act. If it's full of fear, you'll always choose safety over growth. If it's full of regret, you'll stay stuck in the past. And if it's full of negativity, you won't even notice the opportunities around you. That's how powerful your inner world is, and that's why cleaning it out is not a luxury. It's necessary. If you want a better life, start with better thoughts. And before you can think better, you have to remove what's been holding you back. So how do you do it? First, you identify the thoughts that are hurting you, and that takes awareness. You don't just go through the day reacting to everything. You pause. You listen to your mind. You observe what comes up when you're under pressure, when things go wrong, when you're challenged. Do you tell yourself, "I knew I'd mess this up"? Do you think, "This always happens to me"? That's the programming you need to break, and you can't break it if you don't face it. Start writing them down. That's how you bring them to the surface. Write down the thoughts that come up often, the ones that stop you, stress you out, or make you feel like you're not enough. You'll be surprised how often those same lines keep playing in your head. They've become automatic, but just because they've been around for a long time doesn't make them true. Longevity doesn't equal truth. Some of those thoughts were formed when you were 10 years old. They may have made sense then, but they don't belong in your adult mind anymore. They are outdated, and they're costing you your future. Next, you challenge those thoughts. You don't just accept them. You ask, is this thought helping me grow? Is this thought building my confidence? Is this thought moving me forward? If the answer is no, then it's a thought you need to let go of, not later, now. You don't argue with it, you don't try to fix it, you don't explain it away. You just decide that it no longer serves you, and you release it. Then you replace it, because the mind doesn't like empty space. If you remove a negative thought but don't replace it with a better one, the old one will come back. It'll slip right back in and feel familiar. So when you let go of something like, "I'm not good enough," you replace it with something more useful, like, "I can learn anything I commit to." Not fake positivity. Real, grounded thoughts that support growth. Thoughts you can believe in. thoughts that give you strength, direction, and focus. This is not about pretending that everything is perfect. This is about being strong enough to stop feeding thoughts that tear you down. It's about knowing that your mindset is your most important asset. And just like you wouldn't let someone walk into your house and trash it, you shouldn't let harmful thoughts live rent-free in your head. You guard your mind because you value your life. You have to treat your thoughts like your nutrition. You don't just eat anything. You check if it's good for you. You ask if it adds value. You take care of your body by choosing what you feed it. Do the same for your mind. If a thought doesn't give you clarity, courage, or direction, it doesn't belong in your system. You don't entertain it, you don't repeat it. You don't entertain it, you don't repeat it. You don't build your life around it. And here's the truth, your future depends on this. You cannot take bold steps forward while dragging the weight of old thinking. You cannot create something new while holding on to beliefs that were built in fear. If you want to become a stronger version of yourself, your thoughts have to match that version. You can't think like a victim and expect to lead your life. You can't hold on to shame and expect confidence to grow. You can't think weak and live strong. That's not how it works. Every successful person you admire has had to do this. They've had to clear out old thinking. They've had to overcome doubt, insecurity, and fear. They didn't wait for the thoughts to magically disappear. They made a decision. They made it daily. They practiced mental discipline, and over time, their thoughts became tools, not traps. That's what you need to do. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for progress. Remove one limiting thought today. Replace one weak belief today. Build one stronger idea today. And repeat it tomorrow. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not stuck. You're just used to thinking in a way that keeps you small. That's all. And the good news is, you can change that. Not in 5 years. Not when everything's perfect. You can change it today. Start now. Choose one thought that's been holding you back and decide that you're done with it. You're done letting it control your choices. You're done letting it define your limits. You're done letting it speak louder than your potential. Because you deserve more than a life built on doubt. You deserve clarity. You deserve peace. You deserve to walk into a room and not feel like you're less than anyone. And that begins by removing the thoughts that convinced you otherwise. Remove them with strength. Remove them with courage. Remove them because your future is more important than your fear. That's how change begins. Every day is a chance to think better. Every day is a chance to be mentally stronger. Every day is a chance to choose what kind of thoughts will lead your life. And if you're serious about transforming your life, you can't skip this part. You can't keep carrying thoughts that go against your progress. You have to be bold enough to let them go, and wise enough to replace them with something better. You're here to grow. You're here to improve. You're here to become everything you're capable of. But you'll never get there if you keep holding on to the same thoughts that stopped you before. Cut them off, close the chapter, and commit to thinking in a way that supports the life you actually want to live. That's how transformation becomes real. That's how you move from who you were into who you're meant to be. Thought by thought, choice by choice, one clear, strong mindset at a time. Chapter 3. Train your mind to stay calm and clear. Most people lose their way, not because they're not capable, but because their mind gets crowded, noisy, and full of tension. And when your mind is overloaded, you can't think straight. You can't see what's right in front of you. You miss opportunities. You overreact to small things. You get stuck in problems that aren't even that big. That's why it's so important to train your mind to stay calm and clear. Because without calmness, you get pulled in every direction. And without clarity, you waste your energy on things that don't matter. You're not born with a calm mind. You build it. You shape it through your choices. You train it by what you focus on, what you allow in, and how you respond to the world around you. Calm and clear thinking doesn't show up when life is easy. It shows up when you practice mental discipline, when life is not going your way. The person who can stay steady in the middle of pressure is the person who moves forward when others freeze. The reason most people feel stuck is not because they don't know what to do. It's because their mind is always in conflict. One part says, do this. Another part says, don't. One day they feel motivated. The next day they doubt everything. They jump between ideas. They listen to too many opinions, and their mind is too full to take action. That's why mental calm is so powerful. It gives you space to think clearly. It gives you the ability to stay centered. It gives you strength when everyone else is losing control. A calm mind doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've learned to stop reacting to everything. It means you know when to pause. You know when to stay quiet. You know when to think before speaking. It means you don't let emotions decide the outcome of your day. You let discipline lead. You let wisdom speak louder than impulse. That kind of mental power takes training. You don't wake up one day and have it. You earn it by the way you handle everyday situations. Every morning, before you start the day, your mind is in a sensitive state. That's where your training begins. What's the first thing you allow into your mind? Is it noise from the outside world? Or do you take time to center yourself first? You don't need hours. You need intention. Even 10 minutes of silence, reflection, or planning can shift your entire state of mind. That's where calm begins, not from the outside, but from how you enter the day. Throughout the day, life will test your calm. People will say things, unexpected problems will show up, plans won't go the way you want. That's when most people panic. They complain, they rush, they fall into frustration. But if you've trained your mind to remain steady, you'll be able to pause, breathe, and respond instead of react. That's the difference between someone who leads their life and someone who is always chasing stability. A clear mind doesn't hold on to everything. It filters. It knows what to keep and what to release. If you want clarity, you have to stop holding on to every negative thought, every past mistake, and every unnecessary worry. You can't keep thinking about what went wrong last year and expect to have mental space today. You can't replay every argument and expect peace. You've got to learn to let go on purpose, and that requires strength. It requires a decision to choose clarity over chaos. You also need to control what you feed your mind with daily. If you fill your head with drama, comparison, and negativity, don't expect to feel clear. Don't expect to feel focused. Your inputs shape your state. What you read, what you listen to, who you surround yourself with, all of that either strengthens your calm or weakens it. So if you're serious about mental clarity, clean up your environment. Not just physically, mentally. Protect your focus like it's the most valuable thing you own. Because it is. People think they need more time to solve their problems, but what they really need is a better mind to face their problems. A rushed mind makes poor decisions. An angry mind hurts relationships. A worried mind creates problems that don't even exist. That's why you've got to slow down inside even if life speeds up outside. Don't match the chaos. Stay above it. Operate with stillness. Lead with awareness. Handle situations with inner control. That's how you keep your power, no matter what's going on. You have to understand that a calm mind is not a passive mind. It's not about being soft or silent all the time. It's about being stable. It's about being able to see through confusion and take clear action. It's about knowing what matters and ignoring the rest. And that kind of mental strength allows you to stay focused on your goals even when life gets messy. It allows you to show up with purpose instead of emotion. It allows you to protect your energy and time so you can build the life you really want. A scattered mind produces scattered results. If you want to build something meaningful, whether it's your career, your health, your character, or your relationships, you need a strong foundation. That foundation is built on how well you think, how clearly you see, and how calmly you respond. Without that, you'll keep starting over. You'll burn out. You'll wonder why nothing lasts. So instead of chasing the next thing, start by mastering your mindset. It also helps to stop talking about everything that bothers you. Most people keep repeating their stress, their worries, their confusion, and every time they talk about it, they strengthen it. Instead, practice keeping your mind on what you can control. Practice breathing through difficulty without falling apart. Practice being the person in the room who doesn't let chaos change their state. That's real power. And that's the kind of training you need if you want to grow. You don't train the mind once and expect it to stay calm forever. This is daily work. Just like your body needs movement every day, your mind needs direction every day. You need to clean it, guide it, and feed it with thoughts that lead you somewhere useful. You don't wait for the world to give you peace. You create your own peace through what you allow and what you remove. And you protect it with discipline. When you train your mind to stay calm and clear, you start making better decisions. You stop wasting time on drama. You stop chasing validation. You stop reacting to things that used to throw you off. And people will notice. They'll feel the difference, because you're no longer easily shaken. You're no longer confused about who you are. You're no longer distracted by noise. You become the kind of person who moves with direction, with focus, with quiet strength. And that's the kind of person who changes their life. Not the loudest, not the fastest, the one with the clearest mind. The one who's not moved by every storm. The one who can stay steady when others lose balance. That's who you become when you take this seriously. So start today. Don't wait for the right moment. Don't wait for things to calm down around you. Begin now. Take control of your mornings. Limit distractions. Say no to things that steal your peace. Let go of thoughts that don't serve you. Focus on what matters. Build your clarity like it's the core of your success. And when life gets noisy, don't join the noise. Return to calm. Return to clarity. That's how you win. Thought by thought, choice by choice, quietly, strongly, daily. That's how you transform.
Chapter 4. Think about what you want every single day. What you think about daily becomes the center of your life. If you wake up each day without a clear idea of what you want, you drift. You respond to everything around you instead of acting on something inside you. You get caught in habits that don't move you forward. You repeat routines that don't build anything meaningful. Days pass, then weeks, and you wonder why things aren't changing. The answer is simple. Your thoughts weren't focused on what you truly wanted. They were scattered, distracted, or stuck in survival mode. That's why you have to train yourself to think about what you want every single day. Not once in a while, not when it's convenient. Every single day. When you consistently think about what you want, your energy follows that direction. Your decisions begin to support that vision. You say no to things that don't align. You stay away from distractions that waste time. You speak differently. You carry yourself with more intention. But it all starts in the mind. No one else will think for you. No one else will hold that picture of your future as clearly as you need to. That's your responsibility. If you don't hold it, it fades. And when it fades, your actions lose their edge. You slow down. You settle. You accept less than what you could have had. Thinking about what you want is not just about setting goals. It's about locking your focus on what matters to you. It's about making your thoughts match your values. It's about reminding yourself that your time is limited and that you have no space to waste on things that don't push you forward. When you wake up in the morning, before you look at your phone, before you check the news, the most important thing you can do is ask yourself, what do I want to build today? What do I want to become this year? What am I moving toward right now? That simple mental check-in changes everything. Most people don't do that. They jump into the day, reacting to noise, to problems, to the expectations of others. Their mind is busy, but not focused. Their calendar is full, but not intentional. And even if they're working hard, they're not moving with purpose. They're not chasing something they truly want. They're just doing what they've always done. That's how years go by, and nothing changes. The key is not more effort, it's more clarity. And clarity starts by thinking deeply, consistently, and honestly about what you want every single day. If you say you want to be successful, then your thoughts must reflect that. What are you thinking about when you're walking, when you're resting, when you're waiting in traffic? If your mind is always replaying problems or distractions, that's the path you'll stay on. But if your mind is focused on growth, solutions, improvement and next steps, then you're making progress, even when it doesn't show right away. The results don't come first. The focus does. And you can't maintain focus on something you never think about. You have to build a mental routine around your goals. Just like you eat daily, just like you sleep every night, you need a habit of visualizing your ideal future. Not some fantasy, but something real, personal, and important to you. Picture it in detail. Feel the impact it will have on your life. Remind yourself why it matters. When your mind is filled with purpose, you stop needing outside motivation. You create your own fuel. You don't wait for things to feel right. You move because your thoughts are already clear. And don't worry if the goal seems far away. That's normal. What matters is that you keep it close in your thinking, that you don't let it disappear behind the noise of daily life. Every time you bring it back into focus, you strengthen your commitment to it. You build mental endurance. You teach your brain to stay alert to the opportunities that support your vision. That's how real progress happens. Not by chance, by conscious attention, by thinking about what you want often enough that it becomes part of your identity. There's another benefit to this. When you think about what you want daily, you become more emotionally connected to your actions. You're not just working hard, you're working with direction. You're not just busy, you're building something. And that feeling of alignment brings a different kind of energy. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stop questioning every move. You begin to trust your steps because they're grounded in your own vision. That kind of confidence doesn't come from results. It comes from inner clarity. Thinking about what you want also helps you eliminate what's not helping you. You begin to notice which conversations drain you. You realize which habits slow you down. You see where your time is being wasted. And because you're clear on what you want, you don't feel guilty for cutting those things out. You don't feel bad for choosing peace, focus, or growth. You make decisions that support your goals without apologizing for it. That's not selfish. That's being responsible with your potential. You also have to think about what you want in the small moments, not just the big ones. Every choice you make throughout the day reflects what you're thinking about. If you're thinking about growth, you read the book instead of scrolling your phone. If you're thinking about health, you prepare the meal instead of grabbing junk. If you're thinking about your future, you manage your time instead of wasting it. That's the power of daily focus. It turns small moments into strong habits, and those habits shape your entire life. And here's something to remember. Your thoughts are under your control. You don't have to believe everything that shows up in your mind. You can choose to shift your thinking. You can redirect it. You can pull your focus away from doubt and toward your goals. It won't always be easy, but it's always possible. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. You develop mental strength. You sharpen your focus. You build an inner system that supports your outer actions. There's no shortcut to a better life, but there is a clear path. And that path begins with thought. Not just one thought. Repeated, daily thinking about what you want. Not hoping, not wishing. Thinking with clarity, intention, and discipline. That's the foundation. That's how you stay on track when distractions show up. That's how you rebuild focus when you feel off. You come back to the thought that matters. The one that reminds you why you started. The one that says, this is the life I'm creating. This kind of thinking also makes you more aware of how far you've come. When you keep your goal in mind daily, you notice the little wins. You recognize progress. You feel momentum, and that reinforces your effort. It helps you keep going. It keeps you grounded during setbacks. Because even when things don't go as planned, you know what you're aiming for. And that gives you direction when everything else feels uncertain. So don't treat your goals like a once-a-month reminder. Don't keep them buried under stress, noise, or routine. Bring them to the surface every day. Think about what you want before the world tries to tell you what to think. Think about it when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you're tempted to quit. Bring it back into focus. Make it clear. Make it strong. Make it part of your daily mental environment. That's how real change happens. Not through one big decision, but through 1,000 quiet thoughts that point you in the right direction. Stay consistent. Stay focused. Stay clear. And keep thinking about the life you're building every single day. That's how it becomes real. That's how it becomes yours. Thought by thought. Step by step. You create it by keeping it at the front of your mind. And if you can do that, there's nothing you can't achieve. Chapter 5. Remind yourself you're in control of everything. You have to remind yourself every single day that you are in control. Not sometimes. Not when it's easy. All the time. You're in control of what you think, how you respond, what you say, and what you choose. That's the truth most people forget. They hand over control to their emotions, to their past, to other people's opinions, to circumstances they don't even like. And they wonder why they feel powerless. The reason is simple. They gave away what they were supposed to protect, their control. You can't control everything around you, but you can absolutely control how you handle it. That's where real power lives. Not in what happens to you, but in what you do next. When someone speaks to you in a way you don't like, your response is your responsibility. When things don't go as planned, your attitude is still your choice. When you feel pressure, stress, or discomfort, how you carry yourself is still in your hands. You're not a machine. You don't run on autopilot. You are a human being with the ability to stop, think, and choose. That's your gift. That's your advantage. If you don't remind yourself you're in control, you'll live in reaction mode. You'll always feel behind. You'll feel like life is something that happens to you, not something you shape. But when you really accept that you are the one who controls your life's direction, everything changes. You stop waiting. You stop complaining. You stop blaming. And you start acting with purpose. You begin to lead yourself, not just survive the day. One of the most dangerous habits is forgetting how much power you actually have. It happens when you focus too much on things you can't change. You worry about the economy. You stress about other people's behavior. You think about what you should have done years ago. And slowly, you convince yourself that you're stuck, that you don't have a say, that you just have to accept whatever comes. But that's a lie. You always have a say. It may not always feel easy, but it's always there. Every day you're faced with choices, small ones and big ones. And the way you handle those choices shapes everything. Your habits, your health, your mindset, your direction. No one is forcing you to think a certain way. No one is choosing your words. No one is moving your feet for you. That's you. So if you want a different outcome, it doesn't start with changing the world. It starts with taking control of yourself. It starts with saying, "This is my life, and I take full ownership of it." That mindset creates progress. It creates structure. It creates clarity. It makes you strong in a world that wants to distract you. It makes you grounded when life feels unstable. The people who succeed, really succeed, are not always the smartest. They're not always the most talented. But they take control of their direction. They manage their thoughts. They discipline their emotions. They know that every day they get to decide how they'll show up. And here's the truth. You don't need permission to take control. You don't need someone to tell you it's your turn. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You just need to step up and start acting like the leader of your own life. Because no one can live it for you. No one can take responsibility for you. That's on you. And once you accept that, you get stronger. You stop looking for shortcuts. You start doing the real work that leads to results. It's easy to blame others when things don't go well. It's easy to point at your situation. But none of that moves you forward. None of that builds anything. Control is about maturity. It's about saying, even if it's not my fault, it's still my responsibility to deal with it the right way. That level of thinking gives you freedom, because you're no longer tied to what happens, you're connected to what you decide to do with it. When you remind yourself that you're in control, you stop giving your energy to things that don't matter. You don't argue just to win. You don't waste your time proving yourself to people who don't understand you. You don't drown in self-pity. You become efficient with your attention. You think before you react. You act based on what matters to your growth. That kind of control builds a strong character. It builds emotional stability. It creates peace in the middle of chaos. You are also in control of your standards. What you accept, what you tolerate, what you allow in your space. You set the tone for how people treat you by what you allow and how you carry yourself. You don't have to say yes to everything. You don't have to lower your values to keep others comfortable. That's another layer of control, learning to protect your space, so that it supports your progress, not pulls you away from it. And don't forget, you are in control of your habits. No one wakes you up in the morning but you. No one forces you to stay disciplined, focused, or driven. You build your systems. You set your schedule. You follow through, or you don't. But either way, it's your decision. And that's the beauty of life. You don't have to stay the same. You don't have to stay behind. You don't have to keep explaining your past. You just have to take control of your present. If you've been struggling with confusion or doubt, the first thing to do is slow down and ask yourself, what am I still trying to control that's not mine? And what have I given up control of that I need to reclaim? Sometimes we waste our energy on things outside of us, and we ignore the things we can actually do something about. That shift in focus gives you your power back. It reminds you that change doesn't come from the outside. It comes from the inside. Always. You have to talk to yourself in a stronger way, not with fake positivity, but with truth, with commitment, with clarity. You say, no matter how hard it gets, I'm still in charge of how I respond. That doesn't mean you don't feel pain. That doesn't mean you don't face challenges. But it does mean that you won't collapse under pressure. You won't lose yourself, because you've decided that your life will be built from your own strength, not from what's given to you. You're not a victim of your story. You're the author. You decide what chapter comes next. You decide how to carry the lessons from your past. You decide what you focus on today. That kind of mental ownership builds a powerful life. Not a perfect one, but a meaningful one. A life where you move with direction, where you stay accountable, where you know that every action you take is shaping the kind of person you become. So make it a habit every day to remind yourself of this truth. Speak it to yourself. Write it down if you need to. Say it before you begin your day. Remind yourself when things feel heavy. Remind yourself when people let you down. Remind yourself when you feel lost. You are in control of your focus, your energy, your behavior, your words, your future. You are not helpless. You are not stuck. You are capable. You are responsible. And everything starts when you fully own that. That's not just a motivational phrase, it's a daily practice. A decision you repeat until it becomes how you live. When you start carrying that kind of mindset, everything begins to align. You handle problems differently. You set better goals. You attract the right people. You stop trying to change everything around you and start building from within. That's when transformation becomes real. Not someday, but right now, from the moment you take back control. Chapter 6. Focus on thoughts that match your future self. If you want to grow into the person you dream of becoming, you have to focus your thoughts on that version of yourself, not the one you're trying to leave behind. You can't build a new life with old thinking. You can't become stronger, wiser, more disciplined, or more successful if your thoughts keep repeating the same doubts, the same worries, the same complaints that belong to who you used to be. Every thought you choose either pulls you closer to your future or keeps you stuck in your past. There is no neutral ground. You are either building or breaking, growing or repeating. The most powerful shift in your life happens the moment you stop thinking based on where you've been and start thinking based on where you're going. That shift isn't dramatic. It's not loud. It doesn't come with a big announcement. It happens quietly in your choices, in your inner dialogue, in the way you handle the same situations differently, because now you're thinking from a higher place. You're no longer reacting from fear. You're responding from vision. That's the kind of thinking that builds momentum. It's intentional. It's forward-looking. It asks questions like, what does my future self believe? What kind of mindset does that version of me carry? What does that person focus on every morning? And once you answer that, you stop making room for the thoughts that don't belong. You don't argue with the past. You don't debate your limitations. You don't waste time validating your excuses. You simply outgrow them by thinking beyond them. If your future self is calm, focused and confident, but your current thoughts are scattered, anxious and full of doubt, there's a gap, and it's your job to close it. Not by force, but by choosing thoughts that are consistent with the person you want to become. You start showing up differently. You speak with more purpose. You plan with more precision. You carry yourself with more strength. Not because everything's perfect, but because your mind is aligned with the direction you've chosen. You don't get there by accident. You get there by reminding yourself every day that your thoughts must match your goals. You don't get to think small and live big. You don't get to think like a victim and act like a leader. You don't get to dwell on problems and expect peace. Your thoughts build your internal environment, and that internal environment decides what you're capable of handling. That's why your future doesn't start 5 years from now. It starts the moment you think like someone who's already there. It's easy to think from fear. It's easy to think based on past experiences. But if you keep thinking from the same level of understanding that created your current life, nothing will change. You have to think from your potential, not from your history. That means letting go of thoughts that feel familiar but don't serve you anymore. You don't need to hold on to beliefs that make you feel safe, but keep you small. You don't need to rehearse failures that teach you nothing new. That's wasted space. And your mind is too valuable for that. Your future self doesn't carry those thoughts. Your future self wakes up with clarity. Your future self prioritizes wisely. Your future self isn't distracted by every opinion. That version of you already knows what matters. So train your mind to think like that now. Don't wait until everything is in place. Start acting like the person who already has the discipline, the energy, the structure. Because when your thinking changes, your behavior follows. And when your behavior changes, your results follow. You need to catch yourself in the middle of small thoughts. Not after they've taken over, but right when they start. When you feel the urge to quit, pause and ask, is this thought consistent with the person I'm becoming? When you feel like shrinking back, ask, is this something my future self would accept? You'll start noticing how often you give power to thinking that has no place in your next chapter. That awareness is where change begins. Start building a mental filter. Not every thought deserves your time. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Not every feeling deserves your action. You decide what enters and what stays. And if a thought doesn't match your vision, don't entertain it. Redirect it. Replace it. Discipline your mind to stay focused on what supports your future. That's not just positive thinking. That's strategic living. That's how you train your brain to work for you, not against you. This also means being honest with yourself. Are your daily thoughts preparing you for the life you want, or keeping you trapped in the life you're trying to move away from? Are you thinking with courage or with fear? Are you thinking about opportunity or focusing only on problems? Are you building or are you blocking? That level of honesty can be uncomfortable, but it's also necessary, because without clarity, you'll repeat the same cycles and call it bad luck. You have to make your future more familiar than your past. That means thinking about your next level more often than you replay old mistakes. It means keeping your focus on the kind of life you're building instead of the setbacks you've faced. Not because your past doesn't matter, but because your future matters more. And what you think about most becomes what you believe. And what you believe becomes what you live. The mind is powerful, but only when it's directed. Left alone, it will repeat patterns. It will focus on fear. It will look for what's wrong. But when you guide it, when you lead it with intention, it becomes a tool for change. You can train it to think long-term. You can teach it to stay grounded in challenge. You can condition it to stay committed when things get difficult. That's not talent. That's discipline. When your thinking is aligned with your future, you stop wasting time. You stop chasing distractions. You become more selective with your environment, your conversations, your habits. Because you know what you're aiming for. You know what kind of mindset you need to get there. You stop treating your thoughts like background noise and start using them as the foundation of your transformation. And the most important thing, you do this every day. Not once. Not when you're in the mood. Every single day, you remind yourself of who you're becoming. You filter your thoughts to match that standard. You check your direction. You protect your mental energy. You don't negotiate with doubt. You don't play with old narratives. You rise. Because the life you want won't come from who you've been. It will come from who you choose to become. And that starts in the mind. You're not here to stay the same. You're here to evolve. You're here to grow into someone who thinks with purpose, lives with discipline, and builds with clarity. That future self isn't waiting to show up. It's already within you. It's just buried under layers of thinking that you've outgrown. Peel them back. Get clear. And start thinking like someone who knows exactly where they're going. Because once your mind is aligned with your future, everything else starts catching up. Slowly, steadily, powerfully. That's how transformation begins. Thought by thought, decision by decision, and it all starts with where your focus goes today.
Chapter 7. Catch bad thinking before it shapes your life. Your life is shaped by the thoughts you allow to stay. Every result, every habit, every emotion you carry, it all starts in the mind. What you think over time becomes how you live. That's why it's so important to catch bad thinking before it takes root. Because once a negative thought gets repeated, it starts feeling normal. It becomes familiar. And what's familiar feels true, even when it's not. One careless thought can grow into a belief, and beliefs influence behavior. So if you don't stop bad thinking early, you'll find yourself living in patterns that were never meant for you. The problem isn't that we have negative thoughts. Everyone does. The real issue is when we don't challenge them, when we let them sit quietly in the background, when we let them speak without resistance. If you keep thinking you're not capable, eventually you'll stop trying. If you keep repeating that you're too late or too behind, you'll avoid opportunities. And if you let fear run unchecked in your head, it will convince you to stay exactly where you are. You don't have to entertain every thought that enters your mind. You don't have to listen to that voice that always expects the worst. You don't have to follow the thinking that comes from old pain, old failures, or old fear. You're allowed to interrupt it. You're allowed to stop mid-thought and say, "That's not the direction I'm going anymore." That's what it means to take responsibility for your inner life. Most people don't even realize how much their thinking controls them. They don't see the connection between what they think and how they behave. They think their reactions just happen. They think their mood just shifts for no reason. But if you stop and look closely, you'll always find a thought behind every feeling, every decision, every mistake. That's why awareness is your greatest defense. If you catch the thought before it takes over, you get your power back. You stop it before it becomes a pattern. It starts by slowing down and paying attention to your thoughts in real time.
When something stressful happens, pause. When someone says something that upsets you, don't respond right away. Ask yourself, what did my mind just tell me about this? Did it say, here we go again? Did it say, you're not good enough to handle this? Did it say, you always mess things up? That's where you need to step in. That's the exact moment you correct the direction. You don't need to argue with your thoughts. You don't need to fight them all day. You just need to stop agreeing with the ones that hurt you. Stop repeating the ones that keep you in the same place. The moment you recognize a thought is working against you, you separate from it. You stop feeding it. You stop building your actions around it. And you replace it with something stronger, something that supports who you're becoming. You might think a single thought doesn't matter, but that's how most people lose control of their life. One small thought at a time, one complaint that becomes daily, one excuse that turns into a mindset, one doubt that becomes a limitation. And by the time they realize it, those thoughts have shaped their identity. Now they're walking through life, not as they are, but as their worst thoughts have told them they are. That doesn't have to be your story. You can break the cycle, but you have to be intentional. Bad thinking is subtle. It hides in assumptions. It sneaks into your tone. It shows up in how you talk about your future. You'll hear it in phrases like, "That's just how I am. It's never worked before." Those are not facts. Those are stories you've been repeating, and you have to stop giving them life. The best time to catch a thought is the moment it arrives. Don't wait until it becomes a mood. Don't let it shape your behavior. Don't let it grow into a belief. Catch it early. Question it. Replace it. You don't have to let your first reaction become your reality. You don't have to build your day on a weak foundation. You get to pause. You get to choose. That's where your power is. This isn't about pretending everything is positive. This is about being disciplined with your focus. It's about refusing to let old patterns dictate your new life. You've already lived with those thoughts long enough to see where they lead. If they don't build peace, strength, or purpose, they have no place in your future. It's that simple. You have to guard your mind, like your life depends on it, because it does. Your mindset affects your energy, your relationships, your results. What you allow in your head ends up in your habits. That's why successful people are not just disciplined with their time. They're disciplined with their thinking. They think ahead. They think on purpose. They think in ways that match where they're going, not where they've been. When you begin this practice, it may feel uncomfortable. Your old thoughts won't want to leave easily. They'll fight to stay. They'll tell you they're protecting you. They'll tell you they're keeping you safe. But you have to see past that. You have to know that safety isn't the goal. Growth is, strength is, progress is. And to grow, you'll have to let go of thoughts that served a version of you that no longer exists. You owe it to yourself to build a new mental framework, one that supports who you truly are. Not the scared version, not the limited version, but the version that's capable, focused, and clear. That version lives inside you. It just needs a better environment to come alive. And that environment is built by the thoughts you choose every single day. You'll notice something when you start catching bad thoughts early. You'll feel lighter. You'll make decisions faster. You'll feel less overwhelmed. You won't waste time overthinking. You won't sabotage your own progress. You'll feel more in control, not of the world but of yourself. And that control will lead to real power, because it's the kind that no one can take from you. Every time you catch a thought that doesn't serve you, you're building a stronger mind. Every time you replace it with something clear, you're building a better future. You don't have to fix everything in one day. You just have to interrupt one thought at a time. That's how change happens. That's how people turn their life around. Not by force, by attention, by awareness, by choosing a better way to think. This is your chance to build something new, not just outside but inside. Your mind can be your greatest weapon or your biggest weakness. And the difference is how well you manage the thoughts that try to run your life. So stay sharp, stay alert, listen to yourself, question what doesn't serve you, and always remember, you're not a slave to your mind. You're the leader. And every strong life starts with strong thinking. One clean, focused, intentional thought at a time. That's how you protect your future. That's how you shape your life. Thought by thought, day by day, with discipline and clarity. That's how transformation becomes permanent. Chapter 8. Build a habit of thinking with full intention. If you want to grow, you have to think on purpose. You can't let your mind wander without direction and expect your life to move forward. You can't leave your thinking on autopilot and hope your results change. Nothing strong is built by accident. Everything starts with intention. Clear, focused, deliberate thinking. You have to build a habit of thinking with full intention every single day. That's how you train your mind to work for you instead of against you. That's how you develop real discipline from the inside out. Thinking with intention means you decide what to think about and why. It means you take control of your attention and you place it where it actually matters. It means you stop giving your best energy to random distractions and start using your thoughts as tools to shape your future. Most people don't think intentionally. They wake up and react to the day. They absorb noise from the outside world. They listen to anything their mind says, even if it's harmful. They don't stop to ask, is this thought useful? Is it building me or breaking me? That lack of direction creates chaos. It builds lives filled with stress, confusion, and regret. You can avoid that by building the habit of intentional thinking. That habit gives you power. It gives you control. It allows you to lead your day instead of getting pulled around by it. You don't have to guess what matters. You know, you've already decided. And your thoughts reflect that decision. They're not random. They're not based on old emotions. They're aligned with your values, your goals, your principles. This kind of thinking takes practice. It's not something you turn on once and forget. It's a habit you build every time you pause and ask yourself, why am I thinking this right now? Where is this thought taking me? Is this thought leading me toward the life I want? Those questions change everything. They interrupt automatic behavior. They force your mind to slow down and think with clarity. That's the start of real transformation. You don't need to control every thought. That's not the point. The goal is not to monitor your mind every second. The goal is to develop a consistent way of thinking that serves your future. A way of thinking that you can come back to no matter what's happening around you. That kind of thinking becomes your anchor. It keeps you stable when life feels uncertain. It keeps you moving when things get hard. It reminds you of who you are and what you're doing. When you build the habit of thinking with intention, you stop wasting mental energy. You stop replaying situations that don't need more attention. You stop obsessing over things you can't change. You stop building stories around fear. You think to solve. You think to build. You think to lead. That's what intentional thinking looks like. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's calm, quiet, and powerful. Start small. Begin your day with a single clear thought about what matters most. Focus on one idea. Let it guide your first few actions. If your mind drifts, bring it back. If distractions come in, Redirect your focus. That's the training, not perfection. Direction. You're teaching your mind to listen to your leadership, not just react to pressure. You also need to protect the environment your mind lives in. If you're constantly surrounded by noise, conflict, or confusion, intentional thinking becomes harder. You have to create space for your thoughts to breathe. That might mean less time on your phone, less time with people who pull you in the wrong direction, more time in silence, more time reflecting, more time asking yourself what kind of person you want to be, and what kind of thoughts that person would allow. The quality of your thinking depends on what you feed it. If you feed your mind with chaos, you'll get confusion. If you feed it with wisdom, structure, and clarity, you'll get direction. Thinking with full intention means choosing better inputs, reading things that challenge your understanding, listening to voices that lift you, writing things down so you can see your thoughts clearly. These are small actions, but they build strong habits over time. Don't underestimate the power of awareness. The moment you start noticing how your thoughts shape your behavior, you can change. You don't need a breakdown. You don't need a crisis. You just need to become more aware of the connection between your mind and your results. Once you see that, you can shift. You can stop repeating thoughts that no longer serve you. You can stop entertaining ideas that waste your time, and you can start thinking in a way that supports the person you're becoming. Thinking with intention also means staying focused during challenge. It's easy to think clearly when everything is going well, but the habit gets tested when things go wrong. When you feel pressure, when emotions run high, that's when your training shows up. If you've built the habit, you won't fall into panic. You won't spiral into blame. You'll return to clarity. You'll remember what you stand for, and you'll think in a way that reflects strength instead of weakness. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Thinking intentionally doesn't mean you never have doubts. It means you don't let those doubts decide your direction. It means you don't hand over your day to every random emotion. You pause. You reset. You choose again. And each time you do that, the habit gets stronger. The process gets easier. The results become real. Eventually, intentional thinking becomes part of who you are. It becomes the way you approach life. You walk into each day with a sense of purpose. You handle challenges with more control. You speak with more confidence. You don't need validation because you already know what matters to you. That kind of clarity gives you peace. It gives you strength. It gives you results that last. But you have to earn it. You have to build it one thought at a time. You don't wait for motivation. You don't wait for everything to make sense. You start now. You train your mind to be on your side. You stop letting thoughts run wild and start leading them with direction. You stop thinking like the version of you that's stuck and start thinking like the version of you that's building. That's the real shift. If you keep thinking the way you always have, you'll keep getting the same life you've always lived. If you want to change that, change your habit of thinking. Build a new one. One that's focused, clean, clear, and consistent. Make your thoughts match your purpose. Make your inner world support your outer actions. That's how strong lives are built. Not by accident, but by thinking with full intention. Day after day, without excuse, without delay. That's where transformation begins. Thought by thought, with clarity and commitment. Chapter 9. Choose thoughts that help you move forward fast. Progress is not just about what you do with your hands or how many hours you put into your work. It starts much earlier than that. It begins in your mind. It begins with the thoughts you choose. If you want to move forward faster in life, you must choose thoughts that support speed, clarity, and action. You can't expect fast progress while entertaining slow thoughts. You can't build momentum while feeding your mind hesitation, doubt, and fear. What you think becomes what you follow. What you follow becomes what you create. And if your thinking is slow, unsure, or confused, your results will reflect that pace. You need to make a decision to think thoughts that get you moving, not next week, not when life feels easier. Now, thoughts like, I can figure this out, I have enough to begin, or let's solve this today, push you forward. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They don't ask for permission. They don't wait to feel ready. They just act. And those are the thoughts that get you out of your head and into motion. That's how forward movement begins, not with flawless plans, but with useful thinking. Too many people let their minds slow them down. They overthink everything. They question every step. They let one mistake lead to a week of delay. They hold on to what someone said last year, and they let that one sentence shape their self-image. They ask questions that don't need answers right now. They think so long about making the right move that they miss the opportunity to make any move at all. And then they call it bad luck. It's not bad luck. It's bad thinking. And you can fix that. You just have to stop giving attention to thoughts that lead nowhere. You can tell if a thought is helping you by how it makes you feel and what it makes you do. If a thought energizes you, gives you clarity, and helps you take action, that's a thought you want to keep. If it makes you doubt yourself, waste time, or stay stuck, you have to get rid of it. Not tomorrow. Not after another conversation. Right now. You don't argue with it. You don't explain it. You just replace it with something stronger. Because your time is too important to spend following thoughts that steal your energy. The faster you want to move, the more disciplined your thinking needs to be. You don't have space for fear-based thinking. You don't have space for long emotional loops. You don't have space for stories that don't serve your direction. If a thought leads you backward, slow, or confused, cut it. If it helps you step forward, speak clearly, or solve a problem, keep it. That's your filter. That's your system. Keep it simple and consistent. You can wake up every day and ask yourself one powerful question. What kind of thoughts will move me forward today? And then start choosing them. Thoughts that say, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm working on it. Thoughts that say, I don't know everything, but I know enough to begin. Thoughts that say, even if it's uncomfortable, I'll handle it. Those kinds of thoughts speed up growth. They don't wait for outside circumstances to change. They take ownership of the next step. Your progress is not limited by what you don't have. It's slowed by what you keep repeating in your head. You're not behind because of your background. You're stuck because your thoughts are repeating the same doubts over and over again. You can change your situation a lot faster than you think, but only if you stop thinking like someone who is waiting to be rescued. You don't need permission to think clearly. You don't need perfect confidence to move forward. You just need to think with purpose and act on those thoughts. Choosing forward-moving thoughts also means you stop giving power to the past. The past has already served its purpose. It's already happened. You've learned from it. You've lived it. Now your job is to stop dragging it into your present thinking. Stop telling yourself the same story about what went wrong. Start telling yourself what you're going to do next. That's how you gain speed. You don't gain speed by repeating old conversations. You gain it by thinking new ideas, planning new actions, and building a new way of showing up. You also have to stop making your thoughts dependent on how you feel. Feelings change fast. They're important, but they're not always reliable. If you only think positive when you feel good, you'll stay inconsistent. You have to choose strong thoughts even when the day feels heavy. You have to speak encouragement to yourself even when things are not going your way. That's the discipline that separates people who make slow progress and those who move fast. One lets feelings decide. The other lets purpose lead. And here's something most people miss. Moving forward fast doesn't mean rushing. It means making clear progress without unnecessary delay. It means you don't wait for fear to leave. You just stop giving it attention. It means you don't sit with doubt all day. You move while it tries to keep up with you. That's what it means to move fast. Not reckless but focused. You make the decision that even if things are hard, you're going to keep going. Even if people don't understand, you're going to keep thinking thoughts that keep you on track. Every single day, you're training your mind to think one way or another. You're either feeding a system of slow thinking, or you're building the habit of clarity. And that habit becomes the pace of your life. If your thinking is sharp, you move faster. You make better choices. You respond quicker. You recover sooner. That's why mindset is everything. Because you don't rise to the level of your desire. You rise to the level of your thinking. So get serious about the thoughts you choose. Stop playing around with doubt. Stop feeding negativity. Stop waiting for motivation to arrive. Create it with your thoughts. Tell yourself, this situation won't stop me. Tell yourself, I can figure out what to do next. Tell yourself, I've made progress before, and I can do it again. That's not just a motivational trick. That's building momentum with language. That's turning your thoughts into tools. You also need to expect resistance. There will be days your mind wants to slow down. That's normal, but those are the days you choose stronger thoughts. Thoughts that push. Thoughts that direct. Thoughts that refuse to stay stuck. You won't always feel like choosing those thoughts, but the discipline of doing it anyway. That's what speeds up your transformation. You stop waiting to feel ready. You become the kind of person who leads your mind even when it's tired. Over time, this becomes your default. Your mind stops drifting toward old fears. It starts operating from new beliefs. And as your thoughts move faster, so does your life. You start noticing progress in small things. You handle setbacks differently. You make faster decisions. You stop second-guessing yourself because now your mind is trained to move, not pause. To act, not hesitate. To build, not overanalyze. That's what it means to choose thoughts that help you move forward fast. It's a habit, a mindset, a way of operating that takes responsibility for every moment. You don't waste time. You don't hold grudges. You don't live in regret. You live in clarity. You live in action. You live in movement. That's how strong people think. That's how leaders think. And that's how you create results that don't take forever to show up. You don't have to wait to get there. You can begin now. You can wake up tomorrow and think differently. You can choose thoughts that align with your goals. You can reject thoughts that slow you down. And you can start gaining momentum one clear decision at a time. That's how lives are changed. Not with luck, but with thinking that moves you forward fast, every single day. Without apology, without delay, with discipline, with focus, and with strength. Chapter 10. Repeat the right thoughts until they feel natural. The thoughts you repeat every day are the ones that shape who you become, not the thoughts you visit once in a while, not the thoughts you write in your journal and forget. It's the ones you repeat consistently that build the foundation of your mindset. If you want to become stronger, more confident, more focused, Then you need to repeat the right thoughts until they stop feeling strange and start feeling like they belong to you. That's how change takes hold, not in a single moment, but through repeated direction. When you begin thinking in new ways, it won't feel natural at first. That's expected. Your brain is used to the old path. It's comfortable with the familiar doubts, fears, and excuses. So when you start telling yourself something different, like you're capable, prepared, focused, or worthy, your mind might push back. It might reject it. It might try to pull you back into the old loop. But that's not a sign to stop. That's a sign to keep going. Because every time you repeat a thought, you're building a pathway, and the more often you walk that path, the stronger it becomes. This isn't about fake positivity or forcing yourself to say things you don't believe. It's about building mental strength by practicing the kind of thoughts that lead to better results. If you want to become someone who stays calm under pressure, you repeat thoughts that support calmness. If you want to become someone who takes action without hesitation, you repeat thoughts that support movement. You're not pretending to be someone else. You're practicing being who you want to become. That's how new habits form. That's how transformation becomes permanent. The biggest mistake people make is giving up too soon. They try a new way of thinking for a few days, and when it doesn't feel automatic, they assume it's not working. But your mind doesn't operate on convenience. It operates on repetition. Just like your body gets stronger by doing the same movement again and again, your mind gets sharper by focusing on the same thought until it sticks. You don't grow by variety. You grow by consistency. So decide which thoughts you want to repeat. Be specific. Don't just say you want to think more positively. Define the exact thoughts that support your vision. Something simple and strong. Something you can repeat throughout the day. Thoughts like, I choose discipline today, or I have everything I need to grow, or this challenge will not break me. Pick the ones that match your values and your direction. Then speak them daily, not when you feel like it, but especially when you don't. You don't need to believe the thought fully the first time you say it. That's not the goal. The goal is to build belief over time by giving the thought space to grow. You repeat it not because it's already true, but because you're building it into your reality. That's how mindset shifts happen. One thought, spoken with intention, repeated until it becomes your normal, until it replaces the old patterns, until you no longer need to remind yourself, because it's already part of how you think. This takes patience. You're going to have days where the old thoughts return. That's normal. You don't panic. You don't judge yourself. You just notice the pattern, pause, and shift back. One moment of awareness is all it takes. You don't have to fight the old thoughts. You just stop feeding them. You stop giving them your time and start reinforcing the ones that support where you're headed. That's your job. No one else can do that for you. It helps to build structure around this practice. Set reminders during the day to pause and repeat your core thoughts. Say them out loud when possible. Write them down in the morning and again at night. Keep them visible on your phone, your wall, your mirror. Don't underestimate the power of repetition. Every time you say it, your brain records it. And little by little, it starts believing it. Not because it's magic, but because it's been trained to. Eventually the thought that felt forced will begin to feel familiar. Then it becomes automatic. Then it becomes how you see the world. And that's when your behavior starts to shift without effort. You begin showing up differently. You carry yourself with more control. You choose better responses. You expect better outcomes. Not because something outside changed, but because your internal programming is now aligned with who you want to be. Most people never reach that level because they quit too early. They expect immediate change. But the people who transform their lives are the ones who stay with the process. They understand that real change takes time. They're willing to repeat the same thought 100 times if that's what it takes to build a stronger identity. They don't get bored of the basics. They don't chase the next idea. They repeat what works until it becomes part of them. This practice also makes you mentally tough. Life will test you. You'll face setbacks, delays, and distractions. And if your thoughts are not solid, you'll fold under pressure. But when you've built your core beliefs through repetition, you don't fall apart. You don't doubt your value. You don't lose your way. You stay grounded because you've trained your mind to stay strong. That's why this matters. Not just for growth, but for resilience. You get to decide which thoughts live in your mind. You get to build your mental environment the same way you build anything else, with intention, structure, and practice. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. Pick the thoughts that match your goals. Speak them with confidence. Repeat them until they become natural. And never stop reinforcing them, especially on the hard days. You're not stuck. You're not broken. You just need to create new mental habits. And that